Hey Divas, it's your girl Songbird Diva for life. And today I'm doing a very special video because I got some requests from some of you that wanted me to do a kind of question and answer video. Actually, it's not exactly a question and answer video you wanted me to do, but you wanted me to do something with my husband explaining how we met, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So what I decided to do was find some questions on the internet that we can answer together. And my special guest for today is none other than my husband. Hey, this is Dane.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
So I convinced him to do this video with me. Set it up. I convinced him to do this video with me, and it's not going to be a video that we do often, but if you guys have any questions, then, maybe we'll get to them later on. So we're just going to start the video, so let's go, because there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions.
Okay. The first question. What was the first thing that attracted you about me?
The first thing that attracted me to you was your smile, your beauty. Like the first time I saw you, it was basically like everything was over. You were like my perfect person. That's the truth.
For me, I can't say it was love at first sight at all because I wasn't really attracted to him. Not because he's not good looking, because obviously y'all can see he is good looking. But I just wasn't in that frame of mind at the time. Yeah, and I didn't look at him like that from the get-go. Okay, when you look at a woman, what is the first thing you notice?
Her smile. That's really the first thing I noticed. Then everything else kind of comes into play. But her smile.
For me, when I look at a man, the first thing I notice is teeth. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a stickler about teeth. Like, your teeth has to be clean. It has to be straight. I don't like funky teeth. If your teeth ain't right, it just throws everything off. So, do you think it's okay to keep noticing another woman after you are committed in a relationship?
That's a great question. I would have to say, I'm not blind. I know other guys are not blind. And the one thing I'm grateful about my wife, she's a smart person. She's like, look, I notice obviously, attractive people out there. You could look, but don't touch. And, that's how I feel. You could look, but don't touch. Watch how you are as in terms of relationship with the opposite sex. Set boundaries, set standards. Like, look, let the person know that you're in a relationship. But it's no issue. I know who I come home to at night. Look at my wife, man. She's amazing. She's beautiful.
Okay. Describe the way I smell.
Like Hershey's chocolate, dipped in amazing, dipped in fantastic, dipped in just a lot of sexual, feelings. Just great overall.
He smells like a man. That's all I can say. He smells like a man. He doesn't, not like stinky, sweaty man. No. Like, when a man is like just like a man. I can't describe it, but that's what he smells like.
That's funny.
If your friend was cheating on their spouse, would you tell your spouse about it?
Yes.
Me too. What were you thinking about right before you kissed me for the first time?
I can't believe this is actually happening.
Ditto. After I asked you out for the first time, did you consider saying no? Well, I didn't ask you out. You asked me out.
I asked her out, and
yes, I considered saying no because I was a really tough cookie back then. Like,
my God, she
really
was a tough cookie. Jesus.
How old were you when you had your first kiss?
I was 15, turning 16.
I was about the same age, 15, turning 16. How old were you the first time you thought you were in love? I'll answer that question. I was about 18. And that was with him, actually. I've never really been in love before, ever. I mean, I had, little boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, but I was never in love with any of them, so.
I could say kind of sort of the same thing. I thought I was in love in a relationship that I wasn't before my wife, but when I got with my wife, I understood what love was on a different level. So I would have to say when I was 19, turning 20.
Did your parents tell you about sex, or did you already know?
I already knew.
Yeah, my parents didn't really talk to me about sex. I learned from, school and friends. And friends are not the best people to learn from because especially at a young age, they don't really know much. So a lot of the stuff is like false information. So describe your perfect dream date.
Any time I'm with this one right here, you know.
I agree. Ditto.
Yeah.
What is the most important thing that money can do for you?
Freedom. Give you a lot of freedom.
Yeah, freedom to be creative, freedom not to worry about paying bills and, you know, paying mortgage and all that kind of stuff that clouds up your creativity.
Absolutely.
Freedom to just live your life 100%.
And not have to worry about anything.
How did you learn what it meant to be a man?
I think when I realized what it meant to be a man is when I realized that I had somebody else besides myself that I had to be responsible for. When I met my wife, even before we kind of established a relationship, or when we were establishing a relationship, I took her on knowing that this was going to be my wife and I was going to be responsible for this woman. And to me, that's what triggered me to know what it was to be a man, to be responsible for someone else besides me.
And how did I learn what it meant to be a woman? I'm still learning what it means to be a woman. Like I said, when we first started in our relationship, I was really, really tough. You know, I was a tough cookie. And because of, you know, his continuous love for me, it started to melt away that hard exterior, and it allowed me to become more feminine, more womanly, and just, you know, just support him in certain things, that in all things that he does, just as he supports me in everything that I do. So like I said, I'm still learning what it means to be a woman, but I'm getting there.
She's getting there.
If you gave money to charity, which ones would you choose and why?
If I was to give money to charity, it would be something that involved Parkinson's, diabetes, homeless, and kids. And the reasons why, Parkinson's and diabetes, my grandmother had. My grandmother raised me from the time I was 5 months old to about 20, 21. And that was my heart. God rest her soul. Now, homeless, we live in a society, we live in a world where there should be nobody that's homeless. So I would definitely give to that. And kids, because I love kids.
For me, it would be anything with stem cell research. I'm a big believer in stem cell research because I do believe that with more funding, through stem cell research, there will be many cures for diseases that we have today. And another thing that I would fully support is any kind of funding to keep on To Catch a Predator forever. I love that show. You guys know. Anything I can do to support victims of molestation, that's what I want to support. Yeah. So, next question. Who is the person you admire most and why?
I would have to say those are two people. One is Jesus Christ. There's really nothing I could say, just Jesus Christ. And my wife. I really admire my wife. She's the best.
For me, also, Jesus Christ, because we're Christians and that's our foundation. So, like I mentioned in another video that I have, that I believe that the Bible is like an instruction manual for life. So that, and my husband also, because he really helped change me through love, through patience, and I really admire him for that, because I know if it was reversed and he was as hard as I was, we would not have lasted this long, because I would have quit a long time ago, because I was rough, you guys. I was hard. So yeah. Next question. How important, what is the one thing that would be a relationship breaker for you?
Infidelity.
Ditto. There's no negotiation. That's like the most important thing. You know, who do you believe is the dominant one in a relationship and why?
It all depends on the situation, the relationship. Some people are more laid back than other people, and some people are more straightforward than other people. In my wife and our relationship, we kind of balance between both. More than not, I'm more like the laid back kind of person. She's like the straightforward kind of person. But then there's times where it's a role reversal, and she's like the laid back one, and I'm like, all right, well, we got to do this, we got to do that, and I'll take the horse by the reins, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just depends on the situation. Certain times I am more dominant. I'm very protective of my relationship, of my husband. I'm fiercely protective.
Very
So,
protective.
like, I'm not a jealous person. He could tell you I'm not jealous at all. But at the same time, I'm very protective of my husband. If you mess with him, you mess with me, and that's not a good thing. So, so it just depends. You know, certain times he's very protective. Period. Not even certain times he's very protective of me. So it just depends on the situation that arises.
She's my princess, yo.
How do you feel about having children?
We want kids.
Describe your philosophy on personal debt. Well, my philosophy on personal debt is if you're single or if you're in a relationship and you're not married, your personal debt is your own responsibility. Your boyfriend or whatever really shouldn't be responsible for your personal debt. But once you get married, I believe, and a lot of you might not agree with me on this, but I believe that once you get married, there's no such thing as personal debt. Before you get married, you're supposed to know a lot of things about your spouse. Financial, emotional, all that other stuff. But a lot of times people leave out the financial part. You're supposed to look at that. And then you make an informed decision of, okay, is this the person that I want to be with for the rest of my life? Can this person handle money? Can this person, because things like that can destroy a relationship. So to me, I believe once you get married, his debt is my debt is his debt. You help each other pay it off. Because regardless of what, even if you're using your own personal money to be paying off your personal debt, it still affects the household regardless. So I just believe that if he's in debt, it means the family's in debt. If I'm in debt, it means the family's in debt. So we might as well help each other pay it off. So what do you think?
Ditto.
What is the one thing that I do that makes you crazy?
There's a couple of things. It's not nothing crazy. I mean, like, she pokes me sometimes, like, to get my attention. See, like that. She can bite too. She got like, and like, yeah, she pokes and she bites at very awkward times, like when I'm ready to go to bed, because I guess she likes the reaction.
The one thing that he does that drives me crazy is he is very messy.
I'm sorry, I'm a guy.
People that know me know that,
I'm a guy.
First of all, I hate clutter. I like clean lines. I like everything where it belongs. I hate mess. I'm allergic to dust. So everything has to be clean at all times. And I'm like a semi-germaphobe. So when there's mess, it's like I can't concentrate. It drives me crazy. And he's very messy.
I try hard.
He is working on it.
There's some sort of peace in chaos. I just don't understand it. Whatever.
There's no peace in chaos. No. There's peace in cleanliness.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Okay. If you were really in trouble, who would you go to for advice?
Well, God first, and then my wife. And if that doesn't work, I thank God I have a great mother-in-law. She treats me like she gave birth to me. That's something only God could have given me. Seriously. So those are like really the three people I would go to.
Yeah. Who do you feel responsible for in your life?
My wife.
My family. Yeah. Tell me when you first knew you loved me.
I knew I loved my wife within about 3 to 4 weeks of us really not even being in a relationship, just knowing her, just getting to be with her and just, be around her. And even though she had that very hard exterior, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I really loved her. And I wanted to build a relationship and I wanted to, be with her.
When did I know I really loved him? Is that the question? Yeah, tell me when you first knew you loved me. Okay. I knew I loved him about probably 5 months, 4 to 5 months after we started going out officially because, like I said before, I was very hard and I wasn't receptive to love at all. You can ask him. I was so hard. But at the same time, like when you're hard, but inside you're really soft and you just want that person just to be patient with you, but you don't know how to say it. I was that. I was so hard. Everything that he did wasn't right to me. Like, there's nothing he could do that was right. He would try to do romantic things. I'll just have the worst attitude. He couldn't even hold my hand in public. I was like, no PDA. And this is when we officially started going out. I was still like, no, you cannot hold my hand. There was a whole thing with the label boyfriend, girlfriend. I said, do not call me your girlfriend. I'm not your girlfriend. We just two people that like to hang out. I was really, really rough. So the fact that he stuck through all of that, even after people were telling him, why are you with her? She's so mean. She's so, she's not receptive to what you're doing. And the fact that he was still there even after all the crap I gave him. And to be honest with you, I was giving him crap not because I wanted to be mean, but it's because I went through a lot and I was just trying to overprotect myself. That I really had a hard shell. So when I started to see that he was cracking that shell, I was like, wow, this guy really, really loves me. Even after all the crap I gave him, he was still there. So because of that, I started to let down my guard and actually fall in love with him. So what is the difference between having sex and making love?
I'll let you answer this one first.
The difference between having sex and making love is with sex, you don't need any kind of emotion. Monkeys have sex, like animals can have sex, So I've seen men hop from one woman to another woman just having sex. But making love is like a really deep spiritual thing. It's when two spirits combine. Like, the person that you're with, you love the person that you're with, the person that you're with loves you, and it's just a really emotional, super natural experience. Don't get me wrong. Two people can be in love and still have, wild monkey sex. Sometimes that's good. Hey, we're married. We could talk about that. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes it's good for the relationship. But I think, having sex is not necessarily, you don't need love to have sex. That's basically what I'm saying.
So, I would agree 100% with what my wife just said. And there's nothing really I could add to that.
Do you believe in public displays of affection?
I do. She doesn't.
Especially when we first started going out, like I said, I would not even let him hold my hand in public for a good almost a year before I really became comfortable. He says 2 years, but yeah, I just wasn't comfortable. Like I said, I was so rough. I was just like, I just didn't want people looking at us. I'm like, I wasn't comfortable with the boyfriend, girlfriend label. But
I'm not an ugly dude,
Nobody said you were ugly. It doesn't matter. I just wasn't comfortable, But now, I'm warming up to it. I do hold his hand more in public now. We're married, of course. So I have warmed up to the PDA a little bit more than before. So, next question. What is the best advice? What is the best relationship advice that you have ever gotten?
Keep other people out your business.
Ditto. I think that was the best advice we've ever gotten. We did marriage counseling before we got married. It's required by our church, and it was really good, actually. Mm-hmm. And other people gave us advice, and the most important advice that really stuck out to us was keep people out of your business. And we've been together for mad long, and we've never included people in our business. Even with my friends, like my female friends, I never. Whenever we have arguments, I don't go to my friends and be like, oh, we're having arguments, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. I just believe that your relationship is something that you should respect and you should value and you should try to work out with each other. Because the same people that you go running to with problems, once you solve the problem with your spouse or whatever, they're going to be looking at you like, what's wrong with you? Like, they're going to look at you like you crazy for going back to the person or they'll look at your spouse like your spouse is crazy, and you don't want that. You don't want your friends looking at your spouse like, oh, look at him. Oh, I know how he be acting and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. All of that is uncalled for. And you don't want them looking at you like, oh, well, how can she go back to him after that kind of argument? No, keep your business your business. It helps. Trust, it helps.
It really does.
Sorry. Okay, this is the last question. Is it okay for your partner to have a best friend of the opposite sex?
No.
I agree. No. I think that your spouse should be your best friend. Period. I don't think there's any room for negotiation. If your spouse is not your best friend, then you have problems. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your spouse about everything and anything, then you should really evaluate your relationship, because your spouse really should be the one that you turn to regardless of whatever's going on. Even when your spouse is getting on your nerves, you still got to be like, look, you're still supposed to be able to talk to that person openly.
True.
And once that openness is gone, if you feel like you need to have another best friend that's of the opposite sex, I think that's a problem, because when with your best friend, you tell them everything and anything, and if it's somebody else other than your spouse of the opposite sex, it might become something emotional. And everybody knows emotional affairs lead to physical affairs. So I always think it's not a good idea to have somebody of the opposite sex as your best friend. I mean, you can have them as friends, as people you say, hey, you hang out with once in a while, whatever. But as far as sharing your innermost thoughts and secrets and feelings or whatever, I think it only should be your spouse.
That should be, the person's, right next.
That's it for this question and answer. If you have any more questions, leave it down here as usual. As usual, you can tweet me at twitter.com/songbird_diva4life, or you can email me at songbird_diva4life@gmail.com. And you can follow him on Twitter as well at Levels of Danger. Is that your tweet?
It's Levels of Danger, and also the one that I really tweet from is actually Max the Great.
At Max the Great at twitter.com/Max the Great. Thanks for watching, and if you have any more questions, leave it down here. Alrighty, bye.
Peace. Take it easy.